What's up, everybody? Big Herc 916, getting down with Fresh Out, and we have an extraordinary guest with us here today. We have my man Roger, and his story is like any Hollywood movie you ever heard or watched. Roger, how did you come about working for Pablo Escobar?
Well, I was driven down that way. I was hauling pot out of Mexico, and the American DEA had the Mexican federales torture me.
Oh,
And they
shit.
tortured me almost to death one time, and then another time later on they took me out and worked me over with cattle prods, and I got away from them in the jungle, and I knocked one of the federales in the head with a rock. So I was scared to go back to Mexico. So I was only a place left to go was to Colombia, and I met Mr. Pablo Escobar,
Wow.
and they was having trouble with their logistics for getting the cocaine up, and so I was escorted. I'll tell you how I come to it. My contact there in Colombia took me to Envigado, a little village just outside of Medellín, about 10 or 15 miles. And we went up a winding road and came to a gate, and the guys there with the machine guns, and they saw who we were, and they was waiting on us, and they opened the gate, and we drove up through, beautiful little road with the flowers, and it was rough looking, but really nice. And we came to an old house. I guess it was 200 or 300 years old, and stones all out in the yard, and the hitching rails in front. And I guess there was 30 or 40 men out there with their fedoras on. They was waiting to talk to El Jefe. And so me and my escort was ushered right in through all those people, and a beautiful woman, I mean drop dead gorgeous, met us at the door. And how you doing? Said, watch for the hole in the floor. The floor was just waxed beautiful clear. I mean, it had been really a nice place some time ago, but they had left it just like it was with a hole in the floor. I like that. And brought us a cup of tea with that little tiny handle you can't get your finger in. And so in a few minutes she said, the Jefe was ready to see you. So I went in and saw Jorge Ochoa. Yeah, nice looking young man. And behind the desk, he got up, he spoke a little English and shook hands, and we chatted a little bit, and he had 12 telephones on his desk, great big telephones, great big desk. And I said, what's all those telephones? He said, well, now that phone rings, I know who I'm talking to. That was Denver, and this one's Chicago, and that in Seattle.
Wow.
Here's New York. So I got all that, and I like that, the different colored telephones in different cities. And so he asked me what kind of experience I had crossing the U.S. border. I said, I brought over 100 loads of marijuana in, and never lost an ounce. And he said, what kind of planes you got? And I said, I got a turbojet Aero Commander, I got a DC-3, and I got a Beech 18. And he asked what would they haul, and I told him the DC-3 hauled 3 tons. Twin Beech about 1 ton, and the Aero Commander about 500 kilos, but it's twice as fast. And I said, well, just wait just a minute. So he sent the pretty woman next door, and he said, I want you to talk to my compadre. And in come a man dressed in khaki pants, starched and ironed, and plaid shirt on, looked nice as anybody, shook my hand, Mr. Pablo Escobar. And he didn't speak English, but I speak enough Spanish I understood, and we talked a little bit, and he asked me the same questions. And I told him what kind of airplanes I had and what kind of experience I had. And he said, well, we have all the work you can do, and we pay $5,000 a kilo. I said, how much will you put in there? He said, 500 kilos. I kind of got to thinking, that's $2.5 million now. If we put it in that turboprop, I'll be done in 8 hours. That's pretty good wages. I believe I can satisfy you. And so he said, which way do you go? And I said, well, I made a route a long time ago when I was coming out of Mexico. And if I was loading in Veracruz or on the east side, Oaxaca, I would come up through the Gulf of Mexico, now the Gulf of America. and I, 200 or 300 miles out, I'd put it down on the deck, and I'd stay up about 300 or 400 feet. And just after dark, a lot of helicopters come out from New Orleans and that area to supply the oil vessels and take the crew back in the afternoon. So sometimes maybe 20 or 30 helicopters They run about 120 miles an hour, so I'd drop my wheels and my flaps, slow down, and I'd come right in with those helicopters. So they couldn't tell me about it. Then I'd go across Lake Pontchartrain and go out there to St. Timothy Aviation in the land. But my favorite landing spot was on Interstate 10. They spent years and years, I don't know, 20 years trying to make that place across that Mississippi River Bridge. It was a cantilever bridge, and I hear several contractors went broke trying to build that bridge. And the bridge is 5 miles back up, I believe it's Highway 55 where you turn. And there they had big drums with flashing red lights. It was just like the end of a runway. Then you had 5 miles of white concrete and black water and trees on both sides of it. And that was absolutely a dream place.
Wow.
And so I landed there so many times till I wore the place out, and finally sometime they was waiting on me. But I'd go out there, I'd land, and then I'd go somewhere with my plane and drive back there and scrub the tire marks out on the highway before daylight, so nobody would know it.
Wow. So you had a whole system down. I mean, and how well did that work? As far
100%. I never lost a seed.
Wow.
Not a dollar for all those years.
Now, when you hear all the stories about Pablo and you know, you see the different shows, Narcos and stuff, was he as just over the top as they show him on these shows, or was he more of a quiet guy? I mean, was he somebody was very professional? I mean, in your experience dealing with him, was he a person that if you were doing business today, you would be like, this is a good guy to do business with?
He certainly was no maniac. He was just like you and I sitting here talking.
Yeah.
He was just a guy about my size and very, very nice and very polite. And before I don't know, it was after we did a load of two, he put me in a plane with his, and there was two other people. There was a pilot, him and another guy, and we went out to one of his farms. I guess he got a lot of farms, a lot of ranches. And we went out there early in the morning, and so he asked me, did I ride motorcycles? And he had, I guess, half a dozen of them dirt bikes there. And I ride a motorcycle. I'm not much of a motorcycle rider, but I ride a motorcycle. All right, let's go. So I got over, and mine was a good green one, and you take that one. And I pop, button, and the grass is about that deep in front of me. And they was all standing there waiting. And I took off, I'm gonna come around. And there was a ditch there about knee deep and about that wide. And that front field fell in that thing. I went scooting across that grass on my chin.
Oh, man.
He like to fell off of his bike laughing.
Man.
So he had some fun in him. And then we, later on, he had to go round up some cows. I mean, it was just might have been a movie. It was just, it was burnt stumps and stuffed grass. We got on some horses, and he handed me like an Uzi. Can you use that? And absolutely, I had never seen one before, I don't reckon.
How much money do you think he was really making at his height? Like when you were doing what I mean, because everybody throws numbers around. What kind of money do you think he was making, like, say, on a week?
Well, I have no idea, because the CIA was bringing 10-ton loads in at the same time.
Wow.
So
the CIA was also flying drugs for Pablo?
They needed a control tower down there for the planes coming in at night.
Wow.
They was certainly, read the books, The Big White Lie, the CIA and the crack cocaine epidemic. They'd bring it in by the tons. And Clavel, one of the top agents of the CIA, for the DEA, exposed him, and they tried to kill him.
Wow.
So he wrote the book Deep Cover and also the Big White Lie. It's a big white lie, certainly. The government and the CIA developed and put crack cocaine into every city, particularly in the poor sections. In America at one time, how many million people did that kill?
So if they wanted you to work for them, it was great, but if you're doing it on your own, just not controlled by them, then you got to go to jail.
They'll shoot you and kill you.
Wow. And then your connection with Barry Seal, that's an amazing story. Could you go into that, how you met Barry Seal?
Yes, after I was flying cocaine, and I was looking for a place to refuel if I wanted to use a DC-3 where I could bring 3 tons. So I took my wife and family down to Honduras. And we went out, it was just beautiful in the mountains there. And we stayed out a week and looked at some ranches and different places to buy. And then we came back to San Pedro Sula. And our clothes was all muddy, and we'd been in the rivers and the mud, and I had my wife and 2 little children. And so I put the clothes in the laundry, and they said, okay, they'll be ready tomorrow, but they weren't ready. But then the planes were loaded going back to New Orleans from Honduras, 1 a day. So I'd made the reservations for 4. So they said, oh, they'll be ready early in the morning. I think the plane left at 9, let's say. So I told Mari, my wife, and to take the 2 children and go to the airport, and you go ahead. It's easier for me to get on by myself on standby than it is for you. So going up and stay at a hotel there in New Orleans. So I went and got the clothes, and there was a big stack of them. And I got an old raggedy taxi, and I said, hurry, hurry. And I gave him a $100 bill, hurry, hurry. And he just blew the horn faster. Hurry, nothing. So we got to the airport, and there was a brand new 727 taxiing out. And I ran around on the tarmac with all those clothes, and I waved at the pilot. He waved at me. Then I saw Mari's face in the cockpit window back. Then you go,
Yeah.
And the pilot, he smiled and he put on the brakes, and after the front wheel went down, the big jet, and he stuck the ladder out part way. And I started running for the ladder, and he took off again. Like a hitchhiker.
Oh, man.
So by this time, we got a happy crew on the airplane.
Yeah.
So finally he let the thing out, and I got on in the old airplane clap like this. And I went back down about halfway down, and my daughter was sitting there, and there was my vacant seat was there, and a gentleman was by the window, and I thought, I wonder what he is. He looked like he could have been CIA or the governor
Yeah,
or
he
something.
don't fit the look.
He ain't supposed to be here. Whatever
Yeah.
he is, I ain't trusting him. He had clear blue eyes and just an intelligent look. So my daughter was 9 years old. She moved over in the middle, and I sat in the aisle. And we got up, and the wheels come up, click, good thump. And they got up about 5,000 feet, and there was a little click, click. And Miriam said, what was that, Dad? And I said, he just turned on his autopilot. He goes, you fly these things, mister? I said, I got a few hours. My name's Barry Seal. How you doing? So I just got out of jail this morning. And I thought, bullshit.
He's like, come on.
You want me to talk?
Yeah.
So we talked, and I think a 2-hour flight to New Orleans, and I didn't trust him a bit.
Yeah.
None. He was telling me about this and that and other. He'd been an airline pilot. I don't know what all he told me. But I liked him, but I didn't trust him. I thought, you are definitely something with the government. We got off that airplane, and there was a flock of people there. There was a dozen or so. There's mama and wife and children hanging on to him and crying and just loving on him. And I thought, that guy telling the truth. He did just get out of prison this morning. So I had Mari to write her address on, and I walked over. I said, Barry, I might have some work for you. And here's our number. Come out to Santa Barbara. So I was out there, and it wasn't a few days. We got in contact, and he flew out. And I had that Aero Commander that's called a 690B Aero Commander. It's a jet engine that turned props. And I said, let's go flying. So we got up about 10,000. He just click, 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 click. He knew what he was doing. He didn't need a checklist or nothing. So we took off. And so I got about 10. I said, show me what you can do. Well, I'm sorry I said that. He could do it. Boy, we went upside down and every which way and twisted around up in the air and back down again. And I said, that's enough. I was about to throw up. I'm no aerobatic pilot. I'm a good pilot, but I can, but I don't like doing it. So then he cut the engines, and we stalled side by side with that thing. Just like that. I've never seen it done except in a championship air show with Bob Hoover, famous. We landed, stopped.
Wow.
On the air right there in Santa Barbara, and I thought, you can fly for me. So I said, this thing needs tanking. He said, well, I know a tanker fella in Mena, Arkansas. Said, I'll get it done. So I gave him $10,000. He flew away in my airplane. So then I flew back to Baton Rouge and stayed in his house 2 or 3 days. And I told him, I says, I'm hauling cocaine for Pablo Escobar and them others, and I'll give you $2,000 a kilo. He said, how much you put in there? I said, $500 a time. That's $1 billion. Said, all right. So, but he wanted a Panther airplane. It's a conversion from Piper Navajo, where they got these powerful engines with Q-tip props that don't make much noise. The CIA used them in Southeast Asia, flying the hump. And so I bought him one of those, and he got another fellow, and they went to flying. So he wouldn't fly until he got his $1 million. He wouldn't go again. Well, I had to wait a couple of weeks before they paid me to the pipeline to come back. Oh, he'd bellyache in a good humor way. Oh, they're never going to pay you, and just bullshit. So with all his belly aching, I was in the store one day and I saw some Stay Free mini pads. I said, all right. So I got a big pack of those feminine napkins, put $1 million in a box, and put that right in there on top of it. Taped it up. Oh, when he opened that up, he laughed. He made a spot on his mantelpiece for those.
Oh, man.
So anyway, Barry would fly just as fast as I would pay him. He wouldn't go until I'd paid him.
Wow. So Barry, he eventually started working for the government, didn't he?
Yeah, of course he did. Well, he was the biggest snitch in the history of the world.
Yeah, because I mean, the movie American Made, with the Tom Cruise movie where they actually put the cameras in the plane and got pictures of the guys on a landing strip. What could you tell us about that whole, I mean, were you still in the picture at that time, or you were kind of out of the picture?
No, I went to prison for 2 years. But whenever Barry was working, another time, a moment with Pablo Escobar, people like to hear about that. I went down there and I said, listen, y'all go in, some of their drug labs got busted in Panama, and the DEA was tearing up. Well, they moved them on down further close to Ecuador. And it was long. Now, I'm telling you what, it was, I had red lights flashing when I was coming in. I was out of fuel. And I said, fellas, I can't go any further south.
Wow.
You got to give me a fuel up on the coast near Cartagena or something. And so I landed at a banana plantation. And as I was filling the airplane up, it was a military base. And they're in the jungle. And a big helicopter landed. And there out stepped Pablo Escobar and a couple of other guys. And he says, introduced me to a guy named Benjamin. Tall, slim. This guy was a pilot, helicopter pilot for him. He said, go with him and he'll show you where to go. So we put 500 kilos in the Aero Commander, and I took off with the Benjamin in the right seat, and we went to a military base in Nicaragua and landed like, ooh. And he introduced me to the generals there, and there were 2 or 3 of them, and they said, you can land here anytime you want to, just radio silence. Don't say a word, just come in. We'll wash the plane, fill it up, go into the restaurant, get what you want.
Wow.
And stay as long as you want to. Just don't say a word, coming or going. So boy, I thought, now we got the ticket. So before, I had flown some of the loads up with Barry, and we landed at near Orange Walk in Belize at the Carter Ranch. And we switched it over, and I said, you know, there's $20 or $30 million worth of cocaine right here, and somebody's gonna kill us if we keep doing this. Too many eyes on that. So I said, well, now we can go all the way through. And he said, well, and we can refuel in Nicaragua. He couldn't believe it. I said, now you can't get caught in Colombia, and you can't get caught in Nicaragua. And you tell me that you can't be caught in Mena, Arkansas? And I won't say any names, but there was a strong man running that position up there.
I remember, I read a book about that.
About 22 people been killed over talking about it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, yeah. You don't need to say, I know.
I ain't wanting to get killed.
I read that book.
Yeah. So anyway, he was paying, and I was paying that man $50,000 every time Barry's wheels touched the ground.
Wow.
Plus $1 million to Barry. So he said, well, I can't get caught in Mena, Arkansas. It's impossible. I said, I guess we got a ticket to ride.
Wow.
So he did 30 loads back to back for me.
Wow.
And then I got arrested I chartered a plane, a Faulkner, I forget what it was. And we had a bunch of money, trash money, we called it, $20 bills.
Trash money?
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't want them.
We didn't want, God, how much you didn't want them?
Didn't want them. I wouldn't even take a 5 or 10.
Oh, Oh, man.
Absolutely. The money would fill this room up just like that and more.
How'd you guys count the money? Did you weigh it? Or?
You weighed it. Each bill weighs 1 gram. So $1 million in $1 bill weighs 2,000. It weighs 1,000 kilos, 2,200 pounds.
Wow.
And $1 million in $100 bill weighs 10 kilos, 22 pounds. You can put it in a briefcase, a large briefcase. So that's what we wanted. And when I had to ship the money back to Colombia, they were shipping it back with diplomatic pouches. They all wanted hundreds in the bags. They was leaving me with these 20s, and I'm telling you, they was huge. Now that takes a lot of room. So I chartered this jet, and I'm laying on top of the money, and I got these 2 military pilots on the plane, and we fly down to Grand Cayman Island, and it was a bad thunderstorm over it, and we drug one wing down the runway, sparks flying, trying to get it landed. Then they backed the back trucks back up, the vans back up, no custom, nothing. We unload all that money in duffel bags into those vans and take it back, and of course the banker steals as much as he can while they're counting it. Can't help it.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I think that was $15 million in small bills.
Wow.
So
he's, as he's counting, he's tucking it.
He's about 20 of them behind the town. They all dressed in white with the ties and the women. And if you sneeze, boy, there's that many bills hit the floor.
Oh,
that
man.
guy stole every bit of that money out of the bank. He closed the bank down after I went to prison and shut it down and thumbs his nose out. Lives in Bakersfield, California.
Wow.
The Reverend Stephen McTaggart. He said, I got 5 years for fooling with him. He said, you fool with me again, I'll put you back in prison. He built a house with a moat around it up there.
What? God, man, that's
so
crazy.
They know I'm a pussycat. I ain't gonna kill them. So.
Wow.
Yeah, surely did.
So literally back then, a lot of these guys who were running, they had a license to steal. It was just like wide open then, huh?
Just do what you can get away with.
Did you ever have any dealings with Manuel Noriega? Because I mean, they went and took him to prison supposedly because he wouldn't give up the cartel money.
That was after me, but
okay.
I did meet Noriega. I went there. I was fooling with this woman. She was called the Black Widow or the Queen of Cocaine of Bolivia, Sonia de Attila. I'll have to tell you about her. You might like that.
Oh wow, I never heard of her.
Okay, well, in that book I just gave you called the Big White Lie. That's quite a bit about her. Anyway, I was in Colombia, in Medellín, at the top of a building, right up in overlooking all glass. And there was a guy in there that looked like an old Winston Churchill, and he was drunk and he could speak all kind of languages. Brilliant, just brilliant. And in come this woman sashayed in with a rabbit-proof outfit and the boots on and high Indian cheekbones. She's right pretty. And had 2 little bodyguards with her. She's from Bolivia, Sonia de Attila. And she kisses Fernando on both cheeks 2 or 3 times. And said she was on her way to Miami to buy an airplane. And so I'm there with a lawyer that's introducing me to these people. And so he said, what kind of airplane do you want? One with 2 motors. He said, Roger has one with 2 motors for sale. He didn't know nothing about me.
He just threw you out there.
He's smart. So she says, oh, what kind is it? And I said, Queen Air. Oh, Queen Air? She just loved that. Yeah. And she said, how much is it? He went, she was loaded with millions. So I give about 3 times the price. And she says, if I bring it down, if I like it, I buy it. I said, well, it costs some gas to bring it down. You give me $5,000 and I have it delivered to Panama. Okay, Miguel, give the man $5,000. Give me $5,000. I called David McMahon. He brought the plane down, and it did look like an airliner with the big landing lights on. It was on the roof there in Panama. So she says, we flew over to one of the islands. That's where the Shah had just died there. You remember the Shah of Iran?
Yeah.
It was right. So it was kind of in the news, a stir there. So we went over there, and boy, so many people got in that plane, I didn't know if it'd take off or not. Her old entourage. And then afterwards she said, okay, I like it. You want your money to come to Santa Cruz, Bolivia. What? All right, load up. So we loaded up and flew to Santa Cruz, Bolivia. And boy, when she landed, the police was there in their limousines and the flags on the front of the car and all the motorcycles beside us, and they took us through town and right on out to the edge of town, and under the big water tank. Said Santa Cruz across it. Which looked like a mausoleum. It looked like something that wasn't a house. It was made of marble, square building with no charm and a big fence around it. And a bunch of people, 10 or 15 people, 20 people was outside the gate wringing their hands and crying. And she pulled up there with the limousine and got out. What's the matter with you idiots? Your lion is eating the baby.
Oh,
what? And she ran in the house and there's her cougar, pet cougar, eating a baby on the floor. And there's his head and diaper and shit laying there. Blood all over that cougar's face. She grabs, oh, Tommy, Tommy, and she rushes him into another room. She goes out, get away from here. I never want to see your filthy, ugly faces again. Stupid people, you leaving a baby in front of a lion. You blah, blah, blah. She fired everybody at the place. I got my money and left.
God.
Sonia Diatila, she turned into a snitch for the, she's in the witness protection program here now.
Wow, so she took down a lot of people too.
Everybody she could. With me, you can read it there in the book. And it's they telling her, says that Roger Reaves, a pilot, she said, yes, I've been trying to get in touch with him. He said, he's in more files than Noriega.
Wow. Man, that's wild, man. I mean, so you pretty much touched down in every country down there in South America that had anything to do with the drug trade back in those days.
Yeah, well, from Bolivia right on up, Ecuador and Colombia, Venezuela.
So whatever happened with, I know when you went to prison for a couple years from like, was it 82 to 84?
Yeah, all right.
And then during that time, Barry was still working for Pablo. So when you got out, can you go into like how Barry tried to reel you back in and you know, at that point he was already working as an informant?
Well, see, I mean, you have to kind of protect your flow. So Barry knew better than to step across the line and to work with her. But when he was going to Miami, of course, he was meeting Pablo's people, Lito, Achi, and Marta Ochoa. She's a lovely woman. I'll tell you about her. She'd meet me every Wednesday night at a restaurant. I forget, Rusty Pelican out on Key Biscayne. And we go over the books. I'll just tell you how much money there was involved in it. And so their pipeline was slow, 2 or 3 weeks coming back. And so they owed me the money. And about $7 million I stopped. I'd say I'm not doing any more. I had a guy here, Jerry Wills, was flying for me also. So I had 2 airlines running. And all I had to do was people buying cars and fixing them up. So 6 of them a week. And I didn't ever want to see those cars again. That's another story. So I said, Marta, you know, I said, you owe me $7.5 million and I'm not going to go anymore until some money comes in. No, Roger, it's only $7 million. I said, bull, it's $7.5 million. I got it right here. And we had a drink and she said, no, it's $7 million. I said, Marta, I mean, we had an argument. And she said, you remember Lito met you at the Holiday Inn in a yellow Cadillac and gave you 2 boxes of money last Wednesday. I said, that's right. I am so sorry. I forgot that, Marta. So you forget that somebody gave you $500,000.
You forgot?
Yeah.
God.
That's how much money was coming in.
God, Roger, that's crazy.
That just tells you how much money there was falling on me.
Oh my God, 500. You know, when I hear you talk, man, the craziest thing in my mind is the level of trust and just the, you know, people can say it's, you know, criminal activity, but just the respect, because the average person, I mean, people don't know how to act when I see guys getting robbed for an ounce of weed, a half ounce of weed, you know, a couple pounds. So, yeah. I mean, at the level you were dealing at, that level of trust and dealing with people at that level, it's mind-blowing, but at the same time, it shows a different type of mindset, how everybody operated back then.
I knew I was going to do what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
I didn't have any problem with it at all. I say I'm an outlaw, but not much of a criminal. That's what I say.
Yeah.
So I just, But I will tell you what happened to Marta, that she let Griseldo have 150 kilos.
Was it Griselda Blanco?
Yeah. And Griseldo had her garroted and her little son killed, garroted, wrapped in plastic and put in a canal there in Miami.
Damn.
I mean, and I just loved her. She was such a sweet. She come meet me in a nurse's uniform with a stethoscope in her pocket, kind of hanging out like she just got off work.
Wow. So Griselda wasn't no joke down there in Miami, huh?
Oh, she was horrible.
Did all the guys really show up, and they said they used to show up and give her respect, and she was kind of like the godmother down there?
I didn't know her, thank goodness, not at all.
Okay. Whew. Wow. Yeah, because I've just heard through different documentaries and stories about her with the Cocaine Cowboys running that whole operation down there. And then you said, so for Martha with the 7.5 million she owed you, then you said at that point you were tying back into Barry Field?
Barry was flying for me. I had Barry flying loads, and I had this guy Jerry flying loads.
Okay.
So I just slow them down. All right, slow down now.
Okay.
You know, I furnished airplanes, all the expenses, and it was my contacts, both ends, with Barry's in Mena, Arkansas. So that's why I slow down. Because if I'm paying them and I'm not getting paid, I'm losing twice as much money when something does happen.
Mm-hmm. And so when you met back up with Barry, can you go into what happened? Because apparently you guys met at a restaurant, and Barry wanted you to, you walked in, you can kind of see what the crowd was in the restaurant.
Well, anyway, I went to prison for 2 years for marijuana. And I was charged with a continuing criminal enterprise.
CCE.
Carries life in prison for possession of marijuana.
Wow.
That's what they charged me with. And I gave up untold millions to get that charge dropped. And I pled guilty to 400 pounds of marijuana and some tax evasion, and I got 35 years sentence. But all of it was parole, probation, except 5 years.
Wow. Damn, that much probation?
25 years special parole and 5 years probation. The old judge said, now I want to see if you want to, said, I see you living on the farm and fed the hogs. I see you come out here to California, I guess you wanted to live high on the hogs. And Mr. Reaves, is this your passport or is it one of ours?
Oh.
He was wonderful. Judge Terry Hatter here in Los Angeles. So I think he'd have took me home with him, but the DEA was screaming for he was laughing at it. But anyway, they charged me. I was number 41 and John Gotti was number 42 ever charged with that. Terrible.
Wow.
It carries life.
Yeah.
For possession of marijuana. And when I got out, I got before signing, my wife stopped and I said, look here, folks, I just did 33 years in prison for possession of marijuana. And the first sign I see when I come down the road is, relax, we deliver your marijuana to your house. That's how stupid, what a messed up world we living in.
Wow.
Our president should, when he's paroling these people, he should let everybody in prison for a nonviolent drug offense out today.
Yeah.
Every one of them. There's no good in putting them people to work, building cars or whatever, railroads, whatever we need.
That's right.
Not just walking the halls in a prison being looked after, costing $100,000 a year just to keep them. That's too stupid.
So when you were in there for the two, was that when you were in Lompoc during that time?
No, I went to Pleasanton with the ladies.
Okay.
400 women, 200 men. And later on, when okay, then I'll tell you, I got out of prison after the 2 years, and I'd heard Barry had turned. Somebody, the lawyer or something, said, watch out. So I was watching, hadn't been out long, and I was watching the news, and there's Ronald Reagan blue eyes on television looking right in it. You can see it today. So we have absolute proof that the communist Sandinista government is in the cocaine running business. And there's Barry's plane on the runway, bellied in. Oh, C-126.
God.
And I thought, my guts went to ice water like, oh shit. Oh boy. So the phone rang just a few minutes later, and Barry, how you doing, Roger? I'm doing all right. He said, I'm coming out tonight. I'll meet you in this French restaurant down here at 9 o'clock. I said, all right. So I came in at 9 o'clock, and I looked around. Everybody in there is 35, 45 years old, maybe a little bulge here. And I thought, you son of a bitch. And he's leaning backside, and he's gotten fat. And I walked up to him, and I said, are you wired, Barry? And he said, no, I'm not. I said, well, I'm not going to talk. You do all the talking. So he went to telling me how that he had been protected and how that he was a scapegoat for the gentleman in Mena, Arkansas, and the CIA had been unloading him, and his protection went away from him when the shit hit the fan down there with what was it, Colonel? Anyhow, what was that? Iran-Contra.
Iran-Contra, Oliver North?
Oliver North and Iran-Contra. All that blew up, and it was too big for Reagan to stay quiet. So he told. So Barry had gone down with Jake Jacobson, a DEA agent from Alabama. I liked him. And they had brought back 1.5 tons of cocaine and bellied it in on takeoff. He just pulled the power and bellied it in and on the runway. And they called for Pablo Escobar to bring another airplane up. So you can see Pablo Escobar and 2 or 3 of the generals carrying the cocaine on their shoulders. I'll give you that book. Right there it is. I forget what page. It's not that book. That's mine.
Okay.
But the one, Kings of Cocaine.
Okay.
shows him with stripes, and he put a camera inside the plane and a camera outside the plane, that downed airplane. And he took over 1,000 photographs, click, 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 click. He said he's afraid they're going to hear it. And then after they got the 1.5 tons already unloaded from that crash plane into the other big turboprop, he went back in and took the cameras out and put them in his pocket. He was gutsy now. I ain't lying to you, because they would have chopped him in little pieces. They
don't mess
wouldn't
around.
even, him and that DEA agent would have been killed instantly. Well, maybe not.
Yeah.
He might have killed him a piece at the time. So anyway, so now he's working for the feds, and so he just says, Roger, I was facing 3 life sentences, and I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. And he put his hands up over his eyes, and the tears ran between his eyes. He said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I just couldn't do it. And I said, are they all DEA agents? And he said, every one of them. I said, bring your head honcho over. So he brought a nice fella over, Jake Jacobson, tall fella, and I drinking my Chevy Regal there, and we had several together, and he just says, now you can come down tomorrow to Miami, first class with Murray, or I can take you down tonight in chains. And if I take you down tonight in chains, the only place you're going to ever see your family again as long as you live is in a federal penitentiary visiting room. Which is it? I said, I'm going first class, mister. So they flew away, and he wanted me to tell on Jerry Wills, the fella in California. He said, you got to tell on him too. We don't know who he is, but he was flying a load every time Barry was, because the Colombians was telling Barry that. So I went up to see Jerry, and I remember Jerry came out, and I vomited. My stomach and I just kept vomiting in the gutter, like, what on earth am I going to do? I'm not a snitch. What am I going to do? Life in prison. And Barry's done told him like how many tons and tons of cocaine. So the next day, Mari and I flew down to Miami, and I went to see a lawyer to see maybe I can do something. I got a lot of money, but what can I do? So I went to see a lawyer. He was supposed to be the best in Miami at the time. But I didn't realize that his partner had just been blown out of his shoes for representing a snitch.
Oh, shit.
So I told him what the situation was. He said, well, I'll represent you for, he was on a treadmill, talking in his suit, sweating. He said, I'll represent you for $600,000. I don't talk to snitches. I said, I'm not a snitch. Like, what you talking about, mister?
Wow.
I said, no, man, he said, you go in there and tell them one thing, and you don't tell them everything. They will convict you of what you've told them. You got to tell them everything that everybody has said. God. Otherwise, he said, it's like being pregnant. You either are or you're not. I said, well, I'm not. He said, well, take your medicine. So I went to see another lawyer, and he told me about the same thing, much nicer. So I was supposed to meet 3 or 4 o'clock. I was supposed to meet Barry and the entourage at the courthouse there, the federal courthouse there in Miami. And I went there and got there ahead of them. It was big marble pillars going up, half big around as this room. And I kind of got behind one of them, and I saw the 3 cars coming, brand new Ford LTDs. And they had 2 guys in the front with the machine guns looking like this. And then the back one had a couple of guys in the front seat and 2 on the back seat between Barry's in the middle with their machine guns looking like this. And the car behind. And they were just right there, and I stepped down 2 steps and I hit the top of that car. Wham! See how easy it would be?
Yeah. Yeah, you've been done already. Yeah.
Oh, I was scared to death.
Oh man.
So I said, well, I'm having a little trouble getting me a lawyer. I'm gonna have to. I couldn't get one today. Well, use my lawyer. Get him to lawyer. He's a good lawyer. I'll do it, Barry. So Mari and I went and it was on my birthday, 1985, January 26th. So that night, I love there's a restaurant, I don't think it's closed anymore, La Festival in Coral Gables. It's a Michelin 3, I reckon it's good. So we went there to have supper, and Barry knew I liked it. So he came in with Debbie. She was old, looking pretty. So we had dessert together. And I hugged Barry's neck. I said, Barry, I'm leaving. But they're going to kill you. I said, friend, they're going to kill you. If you do this, they're going to kill you. Now let me hug you goodbye. We have a big bear hug, and I left, and they killed him. I left, took my family, went to Brazil.
Oh shit.
I was trying to get Ochoa had owed me $3.5 million, and I was trying to get it and talking to this guy Mario, and they were promising this and that. So boy, good news, great news, great news. Oh, what, Mario? They killed Barry Seal last night. And you know, it made a sickness in my stomach. And I cried. And I went back and told Mari and Miriam, and they cried. So that's how we love Barry, even though the biggest snitch, and now my life sentence is gone. There's no more hiding.
Oh, so that's, yeah, 'cause he was the only witness.
The only witness against me is dead.
Wow.
So, but I couldn't enjoy it. A friend has been murdered.
Yeah. God, that's got to be crazy.
Yeah, it was sad. Yes, it was. I love Barry, and I know that he was like the scapegoat for those people, and they left him holding the bag, and I wish he left my name out of it.
God, man, you just would have just not, yeah, because those aren't the type of people you want to cross, man. They don't let that's not going to go away.
You ain't gonna, you can't put me and my family and all my family and all my fortune and you just can't do it. There's not even him to think of it. How did he think he was going to get away with it? He was arrogant.
Oh, man.
He thought he was smarter than the DEA and the FBI and all of them put together. And people do that when they make a lot of money. They get to thinking that they must be smart. They just had a streak of good luck, is what it is.
So you're now free technically because you don't have you don't have to worry about the life sentence or Barry. So what transpires after that? I mean, you went to Brazil, came back from Brazil, or?
No, I went to Brazil, and I got all kind of passports, everything. I mean, it costs a lot of money, and I put fingerprints in the system. And I was going to buy that rough land out west to grow soybeans. And I like to farm. I'm a farmer by heart. That's what I raised on. So I went out there with my wife, and she just cried. Said, "Oh God, if I die in this godforsaken place, don't leave my bones here." So I said, "You feel that way about it?" She said, "Yes, I don't want to live here." That was a bad mistake. I'd have been a gillionaire if I'd have bought that 60,000 acre lands.
Back then?
Yeah, because it was like $2 or $3 an acre. And now it's just covered in soybeans, railroad tracks through it,
wow.
Everything. So anyway, I've messed up a few times, but anyway, honeydew. And I didn't care too much about it anyway. So I said, well, let's go south. Where do we go? Let's go to South Africa. And I like this story. So they speak English there, and my wife is from Holland. So the Dutch settled South Africa, and so she understands the Afrikaans language. So we flew from Rio to Cape Town. I don't speak a word of Portuguese, but my little girl, the one that was sitting on the plane, she learned it quite fluently. We lived right on the beach, and she played under the lifeguard station with the other children and went to school, and she could speak Portuguese. So we got off of that plane flying first class, not a thought in the world. It came right up there to the immigration customs guy. Great big Mexican looking guy with buttons all down his front and a mustache down here. Bon dia, blah, 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 blah. And man, here I am on the 10 most wanted list, and my knees went knocking onto me.
Oh, shit.
I don't speak. Those people that come in from Mozambique and Angola, the white guys, and they got government jobs in South Africa. And now here he is working on immigration custom. And my daughter ran around. And she said, "Sir, my father is deaf." "Oh, chica, da 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 da." And we walked right through. Whew, I still owe her one.
Your daughter's smart, man.
Yeah, smart.
She's quick-witted, too.
Yeah, you got that done. Yes,
Wow.
sir. Yeah. I still owe her one.
Wow. So now you're in South Africa. I mean, what are your plans out there? I mean, South Africa's got to be crazy.
I'm trying to find something to do. I looked at an apple orchard, like a couple thousand acres, and I negotiated on that a couple of years. You couldn't make it. If I would have went to the interior and saw those vines in that area, I would have stayed in South Africa, but I didn't go there.
Oh, okay.
So we went back to and went to France and stayed there for a year, and then went to Holland, where Mari's from, and then to France, and then to Spain. You might like this. So anyway, they were after me. So
Interpol's looking for you too?
Yeah, Interpol's looking for me too. I bought a ship, and in Holland, and it was under bank seizure, and there was a German captain on the boat, and so we had a few drinks, and I said, I was buying a ship, a big ship, a big cargo ship, and I said, "Would you like to hold some hashish?" He said, "What do you pay?" I said, "I'll give you $400,000 a trip." "Hell yeah!" So we're gonna go to Morocco, I believe, Morocco. And we got down, he loaded up 3.5 tons, a small little load. He took it to England and unloaded it offshore, and the guys went out and got it up, the guy named Howard Marks. And he went back to Portugal and left the ship, and I met him in Amsterdam, gave him $400,000. And he went back to Ratzeburg, Germany, and bought him a long BMW and a long cigar, and man, he is Captain Hagen. So the police arrested him. He's bragging about it.
Oh.
So they fined the $400,000, what's left of it, and he said, "If you'll tell us who give you this money, you'll be home before Christmas." Great. They just forgot to tell him which Christmas. He got 7 years for holding that hashish from his own mouth. Not one seed, not one nothing. But there were 12 crew members from Poland, and they saw it, and they was there, and they saw me repair a plane. So I was arrested in Spain to go to Germany for using a German citizen in an international crime, even though I never made a phone call to Germany. So they took me to court in Spain. They had me in, and then the United States put a extradition in for that guy from the banker I told you about. They'd stolen the money out of the bank.
Oh my God!
And a parole violation. So I stayed 1.5 years in that Spanish court. But before that, they took me to court. And boy, we went up 3 or 4 floors of stairs. Courtroom full of people. I mean, might have been 150 people in there. My wife and little boy was in there, and I had 4 guards guarding me with shotguns. And before that, they handcuffed me like this everywhere I go, because I'd gotten away from them 3 times in the street. 2 sets of leg irons, and all my paperwork says use maximum restraints on every page. Red handcuffs. I started naming my book Use Maximum Restraints. So anyhow, they got that thing off of me. It felt good to get your arms down, and they put those handcuffs in front of me. I said, I got a chance now. So when 2 of them was behind me, it's 4. I asked the lawyer, how high are we? He said, you'll kill yourself. I said, I'm dead anyway. So when 2 of them had to go pee, the judge was waiting on the judge, and the stenographer was over there. She's 9 months pregnant, pretty woman, black hair. She's in her roller chair, and she's doing her nails, looking at her hands. I bound across that courtroom, boom, boom, and I jumped on her desk like that. She screamed and slid back, and the whole courtroom went a big sucking sound.
Oh my God!
I kicked that window out. And I looked down, and it was a long way down. And there was a station wagon kind of parked up a little bit on the side, and I'd been on the fire department. We used to practice jumping into the nets.
Oh.
And I hit the top of that.
From that 3rd story?
3rd floor, 31 feet from the bottom of the window to the top of the car is what they measured.
God.
And I hit the top of that car, and it went to the ground. It went past the drive shaft.
Oh, shit.
And I looked like Donald Duck, and I got out, handcuffed, and down I go.
God!
So the next day, the El Spectador newspaper says Spider-Man escapes.
God.
So if they'll make a movie, I know that'll be one of the better things.
Oh my God, that's insane, man.
That was a.
You got up and kept. I mean, how do you think?
I got away.
Wow, that's crazy, man. I could only imagine in Spain, man, what that would have looked like. Those people were looking like, what this crazy American, right?
They took my wife. Your husband is crazy. Your husband is crazy.
Oh my God! So you're basically on the run.
Yes, they caught me. I got about half a mile in a police car going backwards, and a young man jumped out and he ran behind me. I was almost to the interstate, and there was a water truck that had those jugs of water on it, and I was reaching for it because I was going just about as fast. I can run good.
Yeah.
And he hit me in the back with the back end of his shotgun. Down I went, and I still got a dead spot in my back that if I lean upside and get warm, it starts itching.
Oh, man.
That was 40 years ago.
God, they must have, after that, they must have had a cage around you at all times. They knew this guy could not be anywhere free.
Well, I don't like to hero myself, but I had a hero moment after that. They took me back and they put me in a cell. They just had some brick bats and a bed in it like that. And there's four of them. They went to thumping on me. That's all right. You can thump on me all you want to, I'm just, and yeah, they was hitting hard. They were small, but they was making knots, but that's okay. I've been in plenty of fist fights worse than that. And one of them came up behind me and hit me on my ears. And I mean, it electrocuted me. Something went off in the top of my head. It hurt. I mean, it put me crazy. And you've heard of women picking up cars off of a baby?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Well, something like that happened to me. I went to screaming and I kicked those little farts upside the wall. I mean, there's no way they could touch me. It was just like, you just gone crazy with something like that.
Wow.
And they couldn't get out the door fast enough. And they had cut me on my chin with a ring, and it cut pretty good, but it was bleeding profusely. And I had on a white shirt and all, and it just got me all bloody. So they gave me some water in a slop jar, and nothing to sleep on, no blanket, nothing in that jail. So the next day, the German embassy came to see me, and they wanted me to close the gun ban. I was ready to fight if you come in the door. So he came to that cell and saw me in that condition. So when I got, that's a year and a half there in that cell, in that prison. And when I got to Germany, they gave me 3 days for every jail day that I was in. So I had a year and a half there. So I got, 4.5 years jail time in Germany. So I was almost finished my sentence by the time I got there.
Wow. Wow, that's wild, man. And so you did 4.5, and that guy did 7 years for running his mouth.
I didn't even do 4.5 because I did a year and a half. They give me 8 years for using a German citizen in an international crime.
Okay.
So they put me in maximum security in Lübeck, Germany, with gun towers all the way around it.
How was that, man? A German prison? What was that like?
It wasn't bad. It was lonely. You had a nice big room overlooking. We start off on the ground floor and move you up. Every time you do good, they move you up to another. I'm on finally on the 4th floor, and you're looking at the seasons change, and just beautiful. And they give you 1 meal a day, but it's not so bad as you think. If you work, you get an egg and a slice of cheese in the morning. But every week they come and bring bread, and you can have brown bread, cracked bread, black bread, and you got a big bread box with a seat on it. And they give you all kind of butter, margarine, all kind of jams and jellies and chocolates, and you put that on your shelf. And you can go to the basement and buy a little stuff from a little store down there 1 day a week. Not much, but eggs and bacon, and they give you little tea lights, and you can use the top of a cookie pan to cook on.
Wow.
And they give you a knife and a fork and a plate. I mean, a real knife. And you got your television with a clicker, and I had something to sound, and I played German, and I could say the most unusual things in German at the time I was studying German language all day long. So I spent, I don't know, a year there, and I escaped from that prison.
Damn.
It was. Would you like me to tell you how I got out of that place?
Escape? How'd you escape from that place?
Well, When I was about through with a German citizen, the United States was after me. So I was going to be extradited to the United States, so I really didn't want to go back because I'm facing 30 years of parole, and I knew what they was going to do to me. So I got a job cleaning the lawyer's office in the afternoon. And there was 3 of us would go, and we'd go through like a pneumatic door. And they was bad people in that prison. There was all kind of Red Brigade from any of those Baltic countries. And so I'm beyond that. And then in the lawyer's office, I saw that they had the bars on the windows was wide and like that thick, and they shaped like piano notes coming down to make it look pretty. And you could do that. You could pull them a little bit. Oh, you couldn't move them, but they weren't like big bars. So I said, all right. So they made boats in there. So I got and they had the painter the little rope, and I traded a guy some stamps, a book of stamps, $12 worth for a rope. He said, what you want that rope for? A good thick rope. I said, I'm gonna jump rope. What? Okay, I got my jump rope. And the brooms and knops in that German prison are like our hoe handles and axe handles. They're good thick things. They don't have little flimsy like we have here. So I got one of those, and I had a lawyer that was for the extradition to the United States, and he was a sport. He's from East Germany, and I told him what I wanted to do, and I says I'd come back from the I pretend every time something wrong with me they take you to the hospital, and I come back and it was raining, and at the Sally Port where you went in, all that wire, just a world of razor wire had been taken down, was going to put a new wall up to the prison where it's going to expand it. And I thought, now that is a way out of here if you can get up on top of that building. So I looked and I called that lawyer. I said, I'll tell you what, 2 or 3 blocks down there, if you'll be there Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock, I will give you $10,000. He said, they'll kill you. I said, well, if they're killing you, you're not going to get $10,000. But I will bet you $10,000 that I'll be there. He said, that's a mighty strong bet on you, Mr. Reaves.
Damn.
I said, I'll be there. He said, nobody's ever got out of here before. How you think you're going to do it? I said, just wait. I'm gonna meet you at that place. I said, now take the tags off of your car. I'll put false ones on there. He shook hands with me. He said, I'll take your bet on that. So Friday afternoon when I went into that lawyer's visiting room, I only had 15 minutes because the guard went with the guy that went to the computer room. And so I took the rope around the bars and tied a bowline on it. I put that hoe handle, half of it in there, and I went to turn it, and the bars came together. And I stuck it on the thing to stop it, and somehow I let it get loose, and it hit me so hard on my knuckles, I about peed my pants. I'm telling you what, I jumped around. Oh, I couldn't breathe. You get hurt, didn't you? Well, as soon as I could catch my breath, I did it again. You better be sure I got it over there.
Yeah.
And then I did the other side, and it pulled it apart. And now I'm just going into the on some grass where they keep the things for the soccer team. They got that so you can't put it up on the wall. And there's a wall, I guess it's 12 feet tall with a walk on top of it, and every 50 feet they got a guard tower there with the machine guns in it. The guys they walk in all the time. So where I was, I tried to get through my head went through and I thought I was all right. And then, my chest wouldn't go, so I pulled my shirt off and put it there. And then finally I got here and the bars caught me. And I can't go. I kept going like this, and I let all the air out. And rain's pouring down on my head, sticking out of that prison. And I thought I was going to die.
God.
I can't go either way.
Oh my God.
And the skin's coming off. And finally I get to going like this, and I come through. There's the best pressure air you ever had in your life after that long. I was just about to pass out. Right there, I would have died if I hadn't got through there. So then my hips caught. So I had to do my blue jeans, and I fell out on my head.
Oh,
My blue jeans around my feet. But now I don't have anything on my top. And I get a rake, I try to get the shirt, and I can't, and I'm wasting too much time. And there's a little setback in the wall. It's 4 stories up. And I put my hands in the bricks, and the building has been scaffolded to change some windows on that side. And I hold the scaffolding like this, and I put my hand on that brick, and I climb 4 stories up. So that guard tower right there can't see me. And when I get above the guard tower, I'm above them at 4 floors. So I have to lay there, and I have asthma, and I'm wheezing and trying to catch my breath and bleeding, all skin up bad. So I crawl on top of it. I had to go a long way to the end. And when I get to the end of it, where that sally port is, there's a guard tower there, but it's built in halfway, like a half of a silo sticking out of the brick building. And the guys got there, and I heard it takes 20 seconds for him to open that because it's bulletproof, so they can't shoot him. So I'm waiting, and I see a guard and his wife and a little boy coming, and it's raining. And they got a big double umbrella. And so she brings him to the front gate, and her and the little boy start back. And I take a deep breath, and I jump down 1 floor on top of that guard tower, and it's got a roof like a silo, and bam, that tin hits, and that guy hollers, "Hey!" And I bailed over the wall and out. I mean, it was a long way up, 2 more floors, and there was a pile of sand where the tractor had piled up the dirt from the ditch. And I hit that like a snowbank, and my knees went up to the sand in that thing, and I run straight towards that woman so he couldn't shoot me. And then I go, and I mean, I am stretching out. And I go around that corner, and I am one happy, and the sirens are going off behind me.
Wow.
Woo, woo, woo.
God, man.
And so I hear blam, 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 blam behind me, and I look, and that fool woman's up on the sidewalk trying to run me over, and she's knocking down the parking meters with a big old Ford or Buick or something.
Wow.
So I jump behind a car so she can't kill me, and she tears her fender off of her car. She tears the back end off of that other car, and she's looking at me. She's like an imp face. It looked like some devil looking at me.
Wow.
That little boy hanging on. And I thought, God, I can't go nowhere with that woman on my case. So there was a fence there about that high. And so I jumped up on that fence, and I didn't realize it was beer bottles embedded in the top of the concrete, and I cut my hands and my arms. I was just all over as I went over that fence. My guts, I was bleeding like a stuck hog. So I jumped over on the other side, and that plowed ground, it must have been plowed nearly knee deep, and it was raining, and my feet sunk up nearly to my knees.
God.
And here I am, my shoes come off, and Maury had slipped me $200 in that prison, and I had chewed it till it was so little, and I had it in my shoe, and my shoes came off. I couldn't get them. They got deep in the ground. Here I am flat running across that place with my socks flapping. And I come to the other side, and there was these big rhododendron bushes, and it's hilly. And so I can't go down there where I was supposed to go. That woman's right there. So I'll go across the other way, and I'm just about to cross over, and I see a little muscle car back up into with the guys with the guns. I said, "Oh, I can't go down." I went across the other side, and I see the lawyer told me I'll be in a blue Volkswagen Combi. So I saw it raining, and so when he come down the street slowly, I said, "Hey!" And the brake lights came on, and I ran out and jumped in the car with him. He liked to shit his britches.
God.
He tried to light a cigarette. I said, let's go, let's go, let's go. And he couldn't light it. He dropped his match twice.
Oh my
And he
God.
said, did you see the old woman? I said, no. He said, well, she saw you. I said, let's go, man. And so he took his coat off, a leather coat, and gave it to me and put it on me. We went and we went on out and went to near Hamburg to an old ship that he was defending some guys in there for murder. And we went across the gangplank to an old thing, and there was a big woman, big as an Amazon. And she put methylate on me all over and got me some look like clown clothes. Anyway, I got to Holland and got away from Germany.
God,
So that was that escape I did.
That's gotta be. I mean, has anybody ever escaped from that place before?
Not that I know of, no. It's a fortress. I know a lot about it. It's a fortress.
So the German authorities, are they going crazy, like looking for you now? The Americans are looking for you?
My picture was all over Europe, and I stayed here. I went to Holland. I stayed 4 months on a farm out there that belonged to my wife. She had buried $100,000 for me on that farm. It belonged to her cousin. And so she told me, said, now you go to the haystack. And then from the haystack, go straight to the linden tree, and then take 10 steps to the right. And I buried it in double kegs, $100,000. So I went to the haystack, and I looked, and there was linden trees as far as I could see. I leave it to a woman.
Oh my God.
So anyway, I got an iron rod, and I kind of figured out it must be
Okay.
that biggest linden tree she was talking about.
Okay.
And I found it right away and stuck this in the mud, and we dug it up and had $100,000 there. And I stayed in Holland.
Oh my God.
Went and had a prophet talk to me in a spiritual situation while I was in waiting to get out of that place.
So from Holland, you're hiding out. I mean, what's going through your mind? I mean, you can't go back to the United States. I mean, everybody's looking for you in Europe. I mean,
I was in trouble.
Oh man, there's like you have no rest.
So my daughter, she lived in England at the time, so she went to a cemetery, and she found where a baby had died about my age, 1943, and she went and got his birth certificate, and went and forged and I got a passport, a British passport. And then I caught a train to Portugal, and then a flight across to Venezuela, and then across the border into Colombia, and went back to see the people down there that I knew.
Dude, your daughter, she's a genius. Your daughter's no joke. She's smart. I mean, that
got that done.
Yeah, man.
That was another daughter. I got 2 daughters.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, you got some smart kids. I mean, just to be able to navigate, because like the average, when you see people and they talk about they got a plan, and then you're talking about being able to move, you went all the way from Holland back to South America and made it out. I mean, that's incredible. Then you got to walk to the airport with the passport. I mean, you got all these other elements in there. That's wild, man. So you're back in Colombia now, and what you're like, got to figure out a way to get back on your feet, or are you just laying low?
No, I was looking. I done lost all my money. I've gone. Not all my money, but I need to go to work. So I go back down there to go to work.
A lot of the people still in play, like a lot of your contacts?
Well, the one that stole my money. He's still there, I found out now. I was just looking at the book. I just got that book. I'd never seen it. And Barry asked George Ochoa about the $5 million he owes Roger Reaves. So I'm glad you asked that. I gave it to his friend. So I only had one friend, so I know who's got the money.
He kept it and never gave it to you?
Never gave it to me. I knew he had it, but I didn't. So now that we're getting older, and
yeah,
I might ask him for it in a way that he understands.
Yeah. God, it's crazy, man. I mean, you guys are dealing with such big numbers, and these people, it seems like $500,000 here, $500,000 is like $20. The guy's like, oh, I forgot
about that.
God, man. So while you were in Colombia and kind of getting back on your feet and doing stuff, I mean, how long were you able to sustain before you actually evade the American police, the United States custody? How long were you able to sustain that?
I guess about a year. I came back, I forget which ones it was. They wanted me to unload a 20-ton ship load of cocaine off the coast of California.
20 tons?
20 tons at the time.
God, 20 tons.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
They put it on one of the big freighters that's coming out of Peru. And not freighters, big container ships, and they put the container right on the back, and I designed for them a rope, like a good big rope, and you curl like this, and you put the rope under it, and then everywhere you pull it, it'll be a knot wherever the rope was. And so then they snatch it on just like a trot line. They snap that 20 kilos of cocaine on it in a waterproof bag, and it stretches out like a mile across the ocean. And I had a boat that you could, with a wheel on the back, to bring it up and bring it into the boat. So that's what I was going to do.
Wow.
And I got arrested while I was preparing for that. Somebody turned me in here that knew me. So I got 11 years for parole violation, the longest in world history.
11 years.
132 months. I took them to court. They got me for 2 years for escape from Spain, 2 years for escape in Holland, and 2 years for escape in Germany. And it's not illegal in those countries to escape. It's not a crime.
Wow.
So they can only violate your parole if you break any laws. I didn't break those laws. So the court says you got to take that 6 years off. Okay, so the parole board came back. Ah, Mr. Reeves, you like one of them Vietnam veterans that think you can crawl out them bamboo cages at will. We don't think that of you. You're a bigger risk than we had originally assessed, so we're going to take you above your guidelines and give you 132 months. How do you like that? Didn't do me a bit of good. 2 years in court. Harry Dwyer, little dwarf sitting up there with wolf ears. Oh my God, what a demon.
Oh my God! So they had to figure out some way to give you the time and make it legit. Went above the guidelines.
Yeah, well, above the guidelines anyway. But to give 11 years, the longest I studied parole law for years. The most I ever saw was 7 years. And I don't think in the world that anybody give anybody 11 years for parole. All I did was leave the jurisdiction without permission.
Yeah, I've never heard of that either. At federal parole, I've never heard 11 years is insane. I've never heard of that.
It's unbelievable. And I was in maximum security too the whole time.
Where'd they send you to?
Lompoc Penitentiary.
Oh, so you at the USP?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody killed there every month.
Yeah, I remember.
I got lots of stories about that.
Yeah.
I watched the knives go through the guards and down their throat, and somebody's killed there every month.
Did they call it Castle Grayskull back then too?
What?
They called it Castle Grayskull when I got there.
No.
That's when they pulled up, the guard, because they were dropping people off at the camp and the medium. They're like, I'm like, man, why am I still on the bus?
Exactly.
They pulled up and they're like, oh, you're going to Castle Grayskull. And nobody ever paroles from Lompoc. I've never seen nobody leave there to go home. You might go to another penitentiary.
They don't go home from there. You go goodbye. And it's a dangerous place.
Yeah.
I didn't realize until I got out of there how dangerous it really was. They extradited me back to Germany, where I had escaped from the German prison. They made me do the 11 years in the United States, and then they chained me up, double chains, leg irons all over me, and they must have parked a mile from Lufthansa airline, and 6 of them with shotguns walking in front and beside of me, and I just tell everybody I was so loaded down with chains. It's just an illusion, folks.
Wow.
Shut up, Reeves. You go to hell. And they put me on that airplane. The German police took every bit of it off, put me on the back seat of the airplane, just sat there and flew back to Germany. It took me 6 months to prove that I had done 11 years for what Germany had given me 8 years. And they didn't apologize, but they let me out on the street.
So Germany allowed the 11 years in the United States to kind of...
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Well, the United States give me the time that I did in Spain and Germany, which was like 3.5 years.
Okay.
But then I had to do 7.5, 8 years there in Lompoc to finish up that 11 years.
Wow.
So when I got back, you might like this. Before I escaped from the German prison, I had a little record player, little thing, and I left playing on it when I knew I was fixing to go. That big 8-wheeler rolling down the track. Your true loving daddy ain't a coming back. He's a moving on. So it was funny. So I had it playing over and over again. So when I came back, they had a box where my sugar and my coffee and my tea, they had saved in a seal box. And the guy in reception down there patted me on the head. He said, "Big 8-wheel." They had to remember that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's wild, man. I mean, that journey, I mean, dude, all those countries on the run, and then having gone to, been in Lompoc and survived that. I mean, people don't, the average person out there today doesn't realize how crazy that is. Especially, you were there in the late 80s, and Lompoc back then, man. I mean, you had some of the biggest criminals in the world, some of the biggest cases. I mean, there's guys who did stuff like they make movies about.
Absolutely. That guy killed, right in the restaurant, killed over 200 people and put them in a meat grinder.
200 people?
Yeah. Michael somebody, I forget what. He just out there and he'd just slowly pull up on the bar. That was his exercise. He was muscled up, slim guy like this, nicest fellow you could see. But he'd take a 22. The mafia would bring some guy in to eat in this Italian restaurant. He'd come up, pop him with a 22, drag him in the back, and put him in the meat grinder. He got $5,000 for it.
Oh man. A lot of mafia guys back then in the penitentiary, huh?
Yes, they were. They were nice as they could be, too, to me.
Yeah, you would never know.
Never. Never. I don't think that they were all that bad people. They're business people, and they hired stuff done. They maybe when they were younger they were tough, but the bikers took over.
Yeah, yeah.
They were more dangerous. Those white boys were. They certainly were.
I always tell people that the quiet people, the guys who were the most articulate, most intelligent, these guys they knew history, they knew politics, they knew all this stuff, and you would never know this guy on the street was a cold killer.
And they get away with it.
Yeah.
They're not going to do anything under.
No, when they did get caught, it was because of some fluke, some little.
Somebody told on them.
Yeah, yeah, that's usually how these guys got caught, because they got away with all the crimes.
Yeah. We said the police couldn't catch a cold without a snitch.
Oh my God, Roger, man, this has been an amazing interview. I mean, tell the people about your book, man.
You was asking me about my family. Let me read my daughter, the one that helped save me in Cape Town. She wrote a poem, and I just love the poem. It made me cry. I received it when I was in prison, after I got caught and I escaped from the German prison, and I got caught back there. And she was a little girl, wrote me. She was about 17 years old. Here it is. That's just a couple of pages, so bear with me. There's their picture right there. It's my book right there, Smuggler.
Okay, we'll have the link in the description so people can order.
Okay, here it is, and there's their picture. Daddy's poem. A year ago, I became a poet when I wrote your birthday prose. And here I am today, ready to give it another go. First, I would like to wish you a very happy birthday to be, and to thank you very much, for without you, I would not be me. Secondly, I want to say that your support has been immense. It's been true, honest, loving, and free of all pretense. Thirdly, it goes without saying your love has surpassed all my wrongs, and you always made me smile with one of your old country songs. I can remember on Cuervo, Daddy, with you holding me in your arms as you sang Jim Reeves songs and talked about the farm. I can see you walking through the door for one of your travels far and wide, and the thought of you coming home, Daddy, kept a twinkle in our eyes. I can smell you as I did when I used to climb into your bed, and you would talk to me again about one of the adventures that you led. I can see me and Mario asleep in one of your airplanes extraordinaire, and remember wondering to myself why there wasn't an available chair. I remember having to meet you and worrying that you wouldn't be there, but you would pop from behind some counter and give us all a happy scare. You gave us presents in Key Biscayne and hotels pleasure galore, and 3 dozen roses as we came through the open airport door. When I saw your face at Amsterdam at the luggage carousel, you looked like a boy with a secret that you were just dying to tell. You taught me mathematics in the sands of faraway places, and you taught me how to sail, and we often left without any traces. We climbed glaciers in Argentina and saw the blue of their beautiful caves and witnessed the majestic beauty of their jagged crystalline maze. I learned how to change gears on the dirt roads of Brazil. We ate hot dogs in Paraguay, a memory we smile over still. We talked about lions, elephants, and bears on a hacienda in Uruguay, but decided it was better if to Europe we did fly. Oh, the old world in all its luxury, what a good time it was. From South America to the Krasnopolski, I think we fell in love. The European jaunt, well, it's considered a book in itself, but it's a story about beauty, knowledge, suspense, and worldly wealth. We went from Holland to Sweden, and we went from France to Spain, and I promise you that I have no regrets. I would definitely do it all again. I would see the world with you anytime, sir. There's not a doubt in my mind, because being by your side, Daddy, always ensures a wild good time. So our paths took a turn, and we're back in the U.S. of A. But life here isn't so bad, and I'm plumb content to stay. I'd be happy to be near you, although I'm not as close as before. But because of your love and encouragement, I've been able to open new doors. I'm grateful to be in school, and I'm generally happy where I am. And I even like when you call and tell me to study for my next exam. What a life you've given me, Daddy. It's a tremendous and a magical gift. We already have so many stories to tell. There are far too many to list. But I want to thank you again this day with a very big happy birthday to you, and to tell you a few more things that I know in my heart to be true. That I love you, Daddy, with all of your wrongs and your rights, that you are the head of our family and you've kept us all bound tight. that you have an honest love in your heart for God and all mankind, and you truly do believe in yourself when you say it will all be fine. I know you'll be there to catch me if ever I waver or slip, and I know I'd want you as captain on any sinking ship. I also know a new chapter is written. It's almost time to move on. It's time to sail another sea and to witness a brand new dawn. It'd be good to see you at the helm again as you point out our destination, to laugh and dance on the upper deck while the boat glides through. It'd be good to see you on the go, as I know you like to be, and I know you can open any door without requiring a key. But while we revel in our days together, we will know better than to hurry. Because as you've told me many times, life is an incredible journey.
Oh man, that's
How'd you
great,
like to get that from a little girl?
That's
Make you cry.
Your kids love you, man. I mean, to hear your wife, your children, how they supported you and have always been there for you, man. That's something extraordinary, man. I mean, going through all that, and usually one of the first things, people's families turn against them. People turn their back on you, and your family, your kids have supported you, man. That's just something special, man.
It's just unbelievable. I'm blessed.
Yeah.
I'm really blessed.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, yes.
And you sharing your story for our audience, for our people that support our channel, it's almost like a piece of history. Because, I look at like the men from your era, the things you did, the trailblazing, just what you bring that, if it's not told, it's lost. Yeah. And so I think it's so valuable that you share these stories and people can take them and learn lessons from them. And there's a lot more just besides like, this guy, he was an outlaw, he worked with this, Pablo, but just a lot of the integrity and just a lot of the other qualities I see in you and the people you dealt with, and just the person you are, man. You're a solid guy. They don't make them like you no more, man.
Well, thank you. My wife had trouble with that too. We're Christian people. We are. I don't want to hurt anybody. And my wife, we quit going to church, and so she was ashamed of what I did, even in the marijuana days. She wanted to say it, but now recently, or last few years, Maury, this is history. This is absolutely a piece of history. Let him tell it. Why don't you tell it? So she started writing her, called The Convict's Wife. She writes beautifully, so maybe she'll have her book out.
Yeah, and when it comes out, we'd love to help promote that book, because you said it. I mean, people judge the individuals, but the biggest criminal organization, the CIA, the government, I mean, they were right there, hands-on, involved in all this stuff, which you were a part of, but the people don't realize how this is all a system. It is all a bunch of kegs in the wheel, and all these things tie into the bigger picture. Even though they make it seem like, you're the bad guy, we're gonna give you the CCE, but the CCE is bigger than you. You know what I mean? You're a guy, you were making money, but these people, they don't realize how much money they were making, like you said, with the cocaine in all these cities and the heroin, even from Vietnam War and all this stuff moving around the country, So it's bigger than that, and so when people don't, your story, sharing that and getting it out there, I think is so important, man. So I thank you for taking the time.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Thank you. I really am.
I appreciate it. So we'll have all the links in the description for your social media, for your book, for your other stuff, and in a future date, maybe do a follow-up. But man, it was an honor having you share your story with our audience and to be on our platform.
Thank you very much. Honored to be here.
Hey, there you have it, Big Herc 916 fresh out. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, man. Let's blow this thing up. Roger, the man, the icon, the legend, Big Herc 916.